Latham, who is City of Jacksonville Beach councilwoman, and also the executive director for the Beaches Museum and Chapel. And thank you for letting us use your venue. Always wonderful. Just some housekeeping, hopefully we're not going to keep you here that long. However, if you do need to use the restrooms, they are located in the cabin in the back. Let's go outside.
Only a history card for the bathrooms in the cabin.
Right. They're indoors, so they're not outdoors. We also want to recognize Candace Kelly, who is a commissioner of Atlantic Beach. Thank you, Candace. And former councilwoman, City of Jacksonville Beach, Janelle Wilson. And is there anyone else who would like to be recognized or another elected official? You can stand up if you want to be recognized. Okay. Thank you all for. Oh, Sandy! We're trying so hard to keep her neutral, but. And of course, Sandy Golding, who is one of our newly elected City of Jacksonville Beach councilwoman. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Okay, we do have some candidates, so if you want to stand up and just say your name and what you're running for.
I'm Harold McCarty. I'm running for City Council at large. So I'll be on everybody's ballot.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Matt Carlucci. My name will be listed as it is on Google. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Carlucci. Thank you. Anyone else? This is open mic night. No, thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate the support of our elected officials, and so we always like to recognize them and thank them. Something that we are introducing now is a really quick survey of our meetings, because we want to get feedback from the community, from the attendees. So you may be sitting on it, but at the end of each bench is one slip of paper, has one question on it, and it says, on a scale of 1, lowest, to 4, highest, please rate tonight's program below. Circle one number. So we all want 4s, but please don't feel pressure into giving us 4s. No, but we really do, we do value input, because these meetings are for you. They're for the community. We really want them to be informative. We want them to continue to educate you, which is what our mission is at Beaches Watch. And we want to make sure that our programs are relevant to what's going on here at the beaches, to making sure that we are improving our quality of life here. So that's our #1 priority, and so we do want to hear back from you guys. And there actually is a little line for you to have a brief comment. No, just kidding. But you can use the back of the paper too. But we do want to have you fill that out, and then you can just leave it at the back of the table on your way out. So thank you. As I said, we do videotape our meetings, so I just want to quickly go through the agenda for our viewers at home. So we are always in our membership drive. As you know, our memberships are $15 for individuals, $20 for family, and then we have our $5 students. And I have to say that we really have a lot of participation from our high school students. And that's great to see, and it's highly encouraged, and we get a lot of support from our local high school, particularly Fletcher High School. Kevin Brown, who is on our board, vice president of our board, he does an extraordinary job in getting these teens out and into the community and involved. Your memberships are valid from January through December. So we ask that you can either renew your membership, join us now, or renew your membership now. Eileen Krimsky's in the back. She'll be glad to take your money. We have our member social coming up, which is an annual event to kind of thank our members, to make it a fun event, to give them the opportunity to invite guests to come and hear about Beaches Watch. We also recognize our Friends of the Beaches Award at that social. And that's coming up on Wednesday, April 3rd. So our normal meeting for April will actually be the social, and it will be at the Beaches Museum. Thank you again, Chris, for hosting that. The funds that are raised there will go towards the Fletcher High School scholarship that we award a senior going into college, whether here in Florida, we hope they're here in Florida. But it's an essay contest, so they have to write, if they were an elected official, if they were mayor, what would they want to see improved at the beaches? So it's thoughtful. It's really amazing some of the responses that we get. Let's see. Jacksonville Beach is looking for board applicants. So if you're looking to get involved, with the beaches, they are looking to serve on the Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, Community Redevelopment Agency, and Pension Board. So if you're interested, you can look on their website and apply online. As you know, we are coming up to our Jacksonville Unitary first elections, which is, we used to call it, I guess, a primary. That's Tuesday, March 19th. We are now in early voting, which is why we are here and not at the library, because Neptune Beach is where we can vote early. So please vote early or vote on election day. So voting is from March 4th to March 17th, and they're open from 10 to 6 p.m. As you know, Beaches Watch, as part of our service, we send out candidate questions or questions to the candidates, which we did for this election because we had so many of the at-large candidates open as well as the mayor. And so the candidates who have returned the responses to our questions, they are all posted on our website. So that will also help, hopefully, give you some insight as to their positions on certain issues that we felt was important to the beaches. The 2019 Florida legislation session has kicked in. It runs from March 5th to March 3rd. Our agenda has the websites where you can track the bills, both the House and Senate bills. We also recognize Thousand Friends of Florida. They do a great job in really analyzing the bills, particularly the ones that are environmental, particularly the ones that we feel like can affect our quality of life here at the beach. And the Florida League of Cities as well. The Florida League of Cities, they are a great advocate for home rule. And so every year, I don't know how much you follow it, but it seems that we are always battling where the state legislation is trying to take away a lot of our home rules. So we want to make sure that we are cognizant of that and we stand up for those bills that tend to take away our local power to regulate and to rule what we need and what we feel like best suits us here at home. Our upcoming beaches, our next meeting will be May 1st, and it will be back at the Beaches branch. And I just have to give a shout out to our police departments. I don't know if you know, but the library board, they have been looking at reducing hours throughout the city for the libraries. And part of that was the potential for us as Beaches Watch to not be able to use the venue at the Beaches Library for our Wednesday night meetings because they have reduced those hours. And in order for us to even be considered to have to be able to continue to use that venue, we were going to have to provide a security guard or police security and a staff member. And Teresa Poole, who's director of the Beaches Library, she has volunteered her time to come and attend that meeting because she attends it anyway. And then we've also had our three Beaches Police Departments headed up by Chief Pike to actually provide that security service for us pro bono. So that is huge. That speaks volumes to us as far as the value that they see that Beaches Watch provides to the community here. And for them to step up and volunteer that time is really huge. And that was probably the turning points of why we were able to be able to continue to use the library for our Wednesday night meetings. So Teresa?
So I just wanted to clarify that we're not reducing our hours. We added Monday hours. Previously, we were closed, but
Oh,
we
okay.
are no longer open on Wednesday.
Okay, let me clarify that. For those who didn't hear, they were just changing the hours.
We're
So
open
Monday evening, so you're now open Monday evenings,
We're now open
Monday through
48 hours a week, whereas previously we were 40.
and you're now open
We're
40
open Monday
Monday.
and Tuesday, and those are the 2 evening hours.
Okay.
Wednesday, when we were previously open in the evening, is now a 10 to 6 day.
Right. So with the change of the hours, Beaches Watch was not going to be able to hold their meetings on Wednesday night. And so with Teresa volunteering and then having the police departments here at the beach provide their services, we are able to continue our meetings as they have been scheduled. So anyway, kudos. Thank you very much. Okay, so are there any other announcements? No? All right, well, let me also recognize Mayor Latham from Jacksonville Beach. He's also going to be part of the discussion tonight with our recycling. So welcome, thank you for coming. And now I'd like to turn it over to Marie Moquin, the Executive Director, Founder, Owner of Beaches Go Green.
Everybody. I'm super excited to be here, definitely a little nervous. I have to give a huge shout out to my partner in crime over here, Taryn Montgomery. We spent half the day today speaking to 6 different classes of 4th graders at Jacksonville Beach Elementary. We did that for 4.5 hours, and wow, it was awesome, but it was exhausting. By the 6th presentation, I couldn't remember what I had said already, what I hadn't said, and then we were like, all right, now we're going to go home and get ready for all these adults, yay! So we're super happy to be here. I'm very excited and grateful at the turnout that everybody wants to learn, and I hope we provide you with a lot of valuable information tonight. So we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, you have to point it at that, sorry. Maybe get a little closer. There we go. Okay, so a little bit about myself. First of all, I live in Atlantic Beach, Florida. I'm married. I have 2 sons. I have a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old. And I've always loved animals. I'm a huge animal person. And the reason I started Beaches Go Green is because I watched this documentary called The Plastic Ocean, and it just killed me at how all the waste that we were producing was affecting the animals in their environment. And to see a lot of the animals suffering because we didn't have the proper way of disposing with all of the single-use items that we use nowadays, or maybe we weren't utilizing the proper way to get rid of them, really got to me. And I thought that if I could communicate this to people and get them to understand what's happening, that we could make a difference, because people care about animals, and I think people care about the planet. And so if we educate people, then they'll want to do the right thing. So we're an educational and awareness nonprofit, and our goal is to get you thinking about all the waste that you're producing in many different ways and how it affects the environment. So we're volunteers. As I mentioned, I started this nonprofit, and pretty much everybody that works with us is all volunteer, and we have some awesome team members. So just wanted to point that out so you all know, and we'd love to have people join in to help us and support us, because we always need extra hands, extra people to do research. And so, yep, we're ready for the next one. I'll just give you a little thumbs up. So we focus on local. So one of the things that I realized when I started looking into doing this, I considered myself a pretty environmentally aware person. I wasn't an environmental warrior, but I thought I was doing a good job. I was recycling, and I was picking up trash if I saw it, and I was conscious of what was going on in the planet. but I felt like I wasn't connected to some of the larger organizations because they seemed a little intimidating. So I wanted to create something that people found very approachable, something that you could get your hands dirty, you could get involved, and feel like you're making an actual difference in our community. So we focus on local. We do a lot of local events. When we work with a local event, we talk to them about their planning. We try to get them not to use single-use plastic. We try to get them to have recycling and help them set that up. Anything that makes the event more sustainable, whether it's donating leftover food afterward, it's recycling any abandoned clothing like we did in the Donna Marathon, all kinds of different stuff like that. Supporting green organizations and businesses goes without saying, and then the opportunities to get involved. So some of the local events that we've done some beach cleanups, but we're not a beach cleanup organization. We're really an educational and awareness organization. I happen to also be on the board of the Beaches Town Center Agency, which is the nonprofit that oversees the really cute downtown of Neptune and Atlantic beaches. We work with both the cities and the merchants in that area. And so I convinced them to purchase this water monster. And what this water monster does, we bring it to larger events. It's 120 gallons, and it replaces 1,000 single-use plastic water bottles. Sometimes you'll see them at big concerts and outdoor events. But the idea is part of the retraining the community to start with the BYO, the bring your own reusable, refillable water containers, instead of assuming that you're going to get something single-use handed to you or be able to purchase something single-use. So that was part of that. This is one of our proudest things so far. This was such an amazing experience for us. We had some awesome volunteers. I see some of them out there. We partnered with Deck the Chairs, and we created a single-use plastic art installation. These jellyfish were 16 feet tall, 10 feet in diameter, and we worked with Republic Services. They provided us with all the plastic and the single-use plastic. We created the tentacles. We kept a quantity of it, and we figured out that all the single-use plastic in the installation amounted to about 185 pounds, which is what an average American uses in 1 year. That doesn't count some of the bigger plastic down here, but certainly everything in the tentacles and what went around the outside. So that was a super cool awareness. These signs came from there. We wanted to reuse them, so we brought them tonight and every chance we can to get the word out. So next slide. We hope to make it even cooler next year. We do a series called Movies That Matter, and it's with the U.S. Green Building Council here in Florida. And we've done 2 so far. We showed A Plastic Ocean, since that was the inspirational movie that helped me start Beaches Go Green. And recently we just did Blue the Film, and so we show the film, and then we have an expert panel, which is awesome because we can have a discussion and answer questions after the film. Next. This year we were the official environmental sponsor of the Donna Marathon, and that was big. I've never done a marathon myself. As a matter of fact, I've never even participated in the planning of a marathon. It was a huge learning experience for us. So we went in and we said, we want to help the race be more green. They said, we've always wanted to have it more green, we just don't have the bandwidth. So whatever you can do, we'll take it. So what we did is, typically they sponsor 10,000 single-use plastic water bottles that they hand out at the race, at the 2 race days, Saturday and Sunday. We sponsored Just Water, eco-friendly cartons of water. They come from a sustainable source in upstate New York. They're 100% recyclable, and the #1 reason we did it is because it's an awareness item. You're getting a carton of water instead of a single-use plastic water bottle, which most of us wouldn't even think twice about nowadays. So we did that, we talked to people about it, we spread the word. We had recycling in the Runner's Village in the finish line, and at the end of the race, we had a 1-to-3 ratio of trash to recycling. So we captured a massive amount of recycling, and we were really proud of that. In addition, something I didn't know, but there's a lot of clothing and textiles abandoned during the marathon. People start off cold, and as they get hot, they just take it off and throw it on the ground. We collected over 200 pounds of abandoned clothing, and we either had it donated to Beam, or we took it to the Duval County Textile Recycling Program, which, if you ever need to recycle textiles, there's been in nearly all the elementary schools in Duval County. You can drop off all kinds of textiles. Okay, next slide. Beaches Go Green survey. So this was also a first. We have lots of firsts. We wanted to do a survey to kick off what I thought initially was all about recycling education. And what I've since learned is we have a lot more to learn than just about recycling. So this green survey ran for 7 weeks. We promoted it as best as we could. Apparently 1,600 responses is a good response rate. I was disappointed. I thought we'd have 16,000, knowing how many people live here, but it's a start. So next slide. We took the highlights of the survey and the things I thought that you would find most important. We did a more detailed survey result at the City of Atlantic Beach and presented that back in January. But what we found out is of the people that responded, 96% care about the oceans. 96% know their personal choices affect the environment. But what we also learned is they didn't realize that they weren't making the right choices all the time. 94% want to see recycling in public areas. 97% want to see it in businesses, which I would venture to say at least 97% of the businesses aren't recycling. And 74% surprisingly would support a ban on single-use items. And that's a whole nother conversation. We might have part of that later. Next slide. I thought this was very important. When it comes to people's wallets, people's views tend to change. They get maybe a little more conservative. But I thought this was very interesting that people found recycling so important that 72% said that they'd be willing to pay more to keep the program in our areas. 41% said that they would be willing to pay for a composting service, and 71% said that they're willing to pay more for products and services that are green and made from recycled products, recycled materials. So that's great because, as you know, we can recycle all day long, but if we're not buying products made of recycled goods, we're not helping to drive the market, and then why would they keep making them if no one's buying them? So, all right, so the survey takeaways: the beach residents want change, they want education. People are always surprised at the little tidbits they walk away with. They're like, I never knew that. And I feel that way pretty often myself. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. People want to get involved and they want to feel like they can make a difference in their community. So we try to make a lot of opportunities for all age levels and physical levels to get involved. People want to see support from the community, so I think it's really exciting and optimistic. Next. All right, so changing our habits, my little transition slide. So we produce more and more waste every year. Our society has become very convenience-based. And since the invention of plastic, we've gone from using plastic as a tool to something that's so inexpensive that we're using it all the time and not even thinking about it. So an important statistic to note is that our waste has gone up 4.5% just from 2010 and 60% from 1985. So our trends in usage are going up every year, so we're producing more and more waste. So even the best of us who are managing our waste, there's only so many places to put it, and there's only so much market share to take it. So for most of us, and in the best case scenario, our waste ends up in two places. It either goes to the landfill, if it goes to the trash, or if you put it in your recycle bin, it ends up at a recycle plant like Republic Services, where it's sorted. They sort it by plastic, by metal, by paper and cardboard, by glass. and then they bin that up, they bale it up, and then they sell that material, that pure material, off to buyers. And there have been a lot of changes in the industry, and we can talk more about that at the end, and that's why we have the experts here to talk more about that. Beaches Go Green started out thinking that we were going to be about recycling education, and now we know we need to focus on the 4 R's. I've even recently seen that there are 5 R's, but the addition is the refuse. So first you refuse, you reduce, you reuse, you recycle. The 5th one is rot, and that has to do with the composting. Maybe we'll put that in the next presentation. So refuse, obviously, the first place we want to start is don't accept the single use. Instead of buying a single-use bag of chips, an individual serving, buy the big bag. Instead of buying an individual yogurt cup, buy the bigger tub and portion it out. Those are just ways that you can start to cut waste. You can say no to straws. You can say no to single use. You can say no to the single-use plastic bags. So refusing and making choices right up front is the first way to start cutting back on our waste. So reducing. I talked to the kids about this today. If they go to the grocery store with their mom and dad and they're in the produce section and they see apples in a plastic bag and then they see beautiful apples on the shelf, right, just displayed loosely. Apples already come in a perfect package provided by nature. Why do we need to put them in plastic, right? That's extra waste. So you can reduce by choosing products that don't come in as much packaging. Bring your own reusable bags. Choose reusable water bottles, for example, over single use. And another way to reduce is to compost. You can put your organic waste in a backyard compost bin. Hopefully soon we'll have a more, maybe a composting service or a commercial composting service in Jacksonville. There's a lot of talk about that. So those are ways we can reduce. Reusing is all about being creative. You can take anything that you have and try to turn it into something else. You can see here they use the Starbucks bin as cups. You can also think of it as things that you're not using anymore. If you donate them to a local organization, I told the kids this morning, if you're done playing with a certain toy, give it to another kid. That's reusing. So just ways that we can reuse something that we already have rather than creating the need to buy something new or to add something new. Sorry. So recycling is the last one. Who doesn't love that? I love you. We all love recycling, and we love the concept of recycling, and I totally support it, and we're going to talk more about it, but recycling has some issues, and it's not the end-all be-all. That's why it's at the end of the list of the 4 R's. We have to reduce the amount of waste and cut back what we're creating, and then whatever's left, we can do the right thing and try to recycle it. So there's a lot of talk about plastic, and I want you to know I don't think plastic is bad overall. I think plastic is amazing. It's a great creation. It was created in the 1950s. However, every piece of plastic, with the exception of very few that was ever created, still exists here on the planet. It's a very durable, very long-lasting product. And so what I encourage you to do is to think about how we're using plastic. We're using a very durable product for items that are only used for a few minutes in some cases, and less than 15 in most cases. Single use. So single use is technically anything that's used for 15 minutes or less. And if you buy single-use items thinking, it's okay, I'm going to recycle it, think again, because globally, only 9% of all the plastic ever created has been recycled. So recycling is not the answer to single-use plastic. We have to start to make those changes ahead of time. So another reason that plastic is a challenge is because plastic doesn't break down like compost does, for example, like organic matter. Plastic breaks up into tiny little pieces called microplastics and nanoplastics. And what happens with those is when they get into the ocean and they get into the land, they look like little pieces of food to some animals. And so, next slide. What happens is the plankton and the phytoplankton see these little tiny pieces of plastic and they might think they're an egg. And so they eat that. And then what happens? The small fish comes along and he eats the plankton. And then the bigger fish comes and then you go on up the food chain. And what happens by the time we eat this big healthy fish, it's got a concentration of plastic already in it. And as if that doesn't sound bad enough, these little tiny molecules of plastic, these microplastics and nanoplastics are jagged molecules. And there are other toxins floating in the ocean, for example, and those molecules attract those toxins. So when a small creature eats the little pieces of plastic, they're eating little poison pills. They're getting that toxin that's attached to the plastic. So yes, you might be eating plastic. Scientists have reported that they believe that by 2050, if we stay on our current trajectory of plastic production, especially the single-use plastic habits that we have, that there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. And this is really sad, but it's also very scary, and I'll tell you why. Because the majority, the 70 to 80% of the oxygen in our atmosphere comes from marine plants. We're getting the air we breathe from plants that live in the ocean. And if we make the ocean sick, how are we going to breathe? We can't plant that many trees. We don't have that much space on Earth to compensate for that. So what's very important to take away is the health of the oceans are directly related to the health of the rest of the planet and our health. So it's something super important to pay attention to. Plastic's already hurting a lot of species that live in the ocean. This is a picture of a fine-toothed shark that was in Ponte Vedra Beach. This is a straw hat, a plastic straw hat that got caught around its neck. I don't know any more of the details other than it looks like that's what ended its life. And this is one of many pictures that you can find of where our waste, particularly single-use plastic, has affected animals in water and on land. So I tell you this, not because I want to make you sad, but I want you to understand how important it is and how real this is, because this isn't a one-off. It's just starting to come to our coast. The majority of the countries that produce the waste, the plastic waste that ends up in our ocean, affect the Pacific Ocean particularly. But if you know all about the geography, we're really one ocean. And the currents eventually take the waste and the water all around the planet. And now that pollution is starting to make its way to the Atlantic Ocean, and we're going to start seeing signs of the damage that they've been seeing for years. For example, Kevin Brown told us the other night, the sea turtles that nest on our beach, they sample an egg from the nest, and they have already found microplastics inside those developing embryos in the eggs here on our beaches. So it's coming to us. I just spent